And what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys back for today. We got a lot to talk about on today's show, as we usually do. And before we begin, I just want to remind you guys, so to tip or donate to the program and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to and it's also on the bottom on the ticker, go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, it's on the bottom, as you can see. It really helps out the show. And also, for bonus content, bonus coverage materials that are not on the broadcast, go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network. And yeah, this is what you would search up for that, the Patreon logo that we have here. I know I accidentally clicked on it yesterday, but just wanted to show it again to remind you guys. And yeah, so that just had to get that out of the way. But yeah, like I said, we got a great show for you guys. So today, as you can see on the bottom, as usual, we'll go through the current news and headlines surrounding Major League Baseball. Then, in the second segment, I saw an article yesterday, and it was talking about all the trade acquisitions from the trade deadline, some good, some bad. So we'll go over that and go into detail with that and what my thoughts are with those trades. Then in the third segment, we are going to recap all the games from yesterday, talk about the current standings, whether it's the wild card or the division, as we usually do as well. And then finally, I want to talk about Matt Olson, the first baseman of the Atlanta Braves, and talk about whether or not I think he can maybe get to 60 home runs on the season. So that's basically the show for today. So let's get right into the first segment, talking about, just the current news and stuff surrounding Major League Baseball. So last night, Matt Olson actually, I'll touch upon it a little bit, but Matt Olson actually got up to 52 home runs. He hit his 52nd home run of the season, and he's having a great season. And listen, we talk about Mookie Betts, we talk about Ronald Acuna and the kind of seasons that these guys are having, but I feel like actually right now Matt Olson is at 51 home runs. I don't know why I thought he had 52. That's my bad. But yeah, Matt Olson, he has all these home runs. He has, I think, the most RBIs in baseball right now as it currently stands. But yeah, he has by a wide margin. He has 128 RBIs, but he's right up there as an MVP candidate. And it's gonna be really interesting to see how that race finishes out. But yeah, it really is. It's really going to be something incredible to watch towards the end of the season, how that all pans out. So then the other thing too, and this is regarding the Texas Rangers. So Max Scherzer actually exited the game last night with a triceps issue. As it currently stands, though, the Rangers hold the second wild card spot. So, I know I've been saying I think the Rangers are going to be the team that's on the outside looking in. Right now, that's not the case. But this is definitely, I know Max Scherzer hasn't been producing the way the Rangers were hoping. He did have a good start for them, but it's been kind of rough. But last night actually didn't pitch that badly. The Rangers were able to get a big win against the Blue Jays. They picked up their 80th win on the season. But, in a season where the Rangers, they started off hot, and then, they made some trades, and they've kind of underperformed. It's definitely been a roller coaster a little bit for them recently. And Max Scherzer being hurt, and this is after they signed Jacob deGrom in the offseason, and he's out with Tommy John. It's not something you want, especially at this point during the season. So, yeah, so that's just something to talk about as well. Also, so the Nationals, they announced a contract extension with GM Mike Rizzo, so he's been there for a while, was part of that World Series team. Also, regarding the Mets, So they're looking at possibly getting Craig Counsell as their manager, and also getting David Stearns to be their president of baseball operations. And this is something that's been talked about a lot, especially here in New York. And you hear those names being floated around because Met fans are kind of sick of, obviously, really disappointed with how Buck Showalter has been this year, and people not really being big fans of Billy Epler as the general manager. These are names that they've been throwing out there to kind of replace those guys. Now, David Stearns, like I said, is going to be the president of baseball operations. That's, I believe, what the title is going to be for him. So not going to necessarily be the general manager, but he's going to have a pivotal role. And the Mets, if they want to get to where they need to be, because obviously this season was a big disappointment for them for a multitude of reasons. Guys just underperforming and injuries. It's just they need a change there, and they have the money for it. Now they just got to get the right people in the right places to go out and make sure this team is good for next year. They got a lot of young players. There's talk that Pete Alonso's name's been floated around like he's going to get traded, and it's like I don't, for me personally, I don't understand why. I understand you could probably get a haul for Pete Alonso, but Pete Alonso is one of your cornerstones of your franchise, and you're thinking about trading him. It doesn't really make any sense to me. But we'll have to see. The Mets have the money. That's the thing too. Like in years past, the Mets they wouldn't go out and spend. This year, and last year too, they have Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen can give Pete Alonso whatever he wants, and if they let Pete Alonso walk, to me that just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so that's that's talking about the Mets. So the Mets, we're gonna see a different outlook on the team next year with the guys that they have brought or possibly are going to bring in. Craig Counsell, that's just a rumor. That's not official yet, obviously. But or anything. It's not anything really. But Buck Showalter. I was thinking I was gonna say Bill Buckner. I almost said it before too. Buck Showalter will not be the manager of this team next year. It doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So the Mets are going to look elsewhere when it comes to manager. Also, Padres news. Yu Darvish has a stress reaction in his elbow, so he's being shut down for the rest of 2023. So, again, just another hit for the Padres. The Padres, they've just been a huge disappointment. And we're going to go to we're going to go into more detail with that, but they were just that was a team that a lot of people were very excited for going into the season, and they just, again, and I keep talking about it, they just really did not deliver. It's just been a very disappointing season for them, to say the least. Also, an interesting thing too as well, the Houston Astros, they lost to the A's last night, and I was talking about how not that the A's own the Astros, but for some reason the Astros struggle against the A's, and the Astros fell to 500 at home on the season, and Justin Verlander was on the mound last night, and they lost again. They lost 6-2 to the A's, and it really just does not make any sense to me why they're having problems with the A's, but I guess it's just one of those fluky things that you just gotta, that you're gonna deal with. I still think the Astros are gonna win the division. I think this is just a hiccup, and I'll talk about the divisions and all that, later on in the show. But yeah, it's it really just boggles my mind why they just, for some reason, the A's are not their kryptonite, but it really just doesn't make any sense to me. Whatever. It just makes me scratch my head. But yeah, the fact that the Astros are 500 at home, I mean, that's probably one of the, more hostile places to go play, especially in the postseason. And, the fact that they don't really they're at 500 when it comes to playing at home, is kind of takes you back, So, yeah, so that's just another highlight as well, or another headline as well. I did that yesterday too. So also Adam Wainwright, right now he sits at 199 wins on the season, and he's one away from 200, and this is his last year, So hopefully he's able to accomplish that and finish off his career, a very good career. And he hasn't had his best season. His numbers 4-11, 7.95 ERA on the season. Cardinals actually picked up a win last night against the Orioles. But that you would hope that, with what the kind of season that the Cardinals have been having, you kind of hope that that Wainwright could go out there and at least give them something to celebrate if he picks up his 200th win and he can go out on a high note, because this season for the Cardinals has been a disaster. And I had the Cardinals winning their division. I had the Yankees winning their division, the Astros, the Guardians, the Padres. I had all those teams winning the division. Now, the Astros are the only team out of those that are even have a chance to. The rest of those teams, not only are they not going to win their division, but they're not even going to make the playoffs, which is crazy. And this is why I am bad when it comes to making predictions. And you could call me out for them. I'll definitely take the heat for it. But it is, I mean, it's just terrible. If the Astros are the only team right now. Right now they're in first place. Everybody else, the Guardians are in second. The Padres are in third or fourth place, actually. Giants are ahead of them. The Yankees and the Red Sox, they're at the bottom. They're tied for last place. It's crazy. The Cardinals are in. It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, that's one thing you got to know about me is I personally, for me, I don't like making predictions, because if I'm wrong, and if I'm just wrong, like if I was close, that's one thing. But if I'm like way off, that's just another thing. And yeah, I was way off with a lot of these teams because a lot of them are at the bottom of their division or near the bottom. And you wouldn't have expected that. The Padres right now are 10 games under 500. They are close to 80 losses on the season. And I really didn't expect that. And especially because this was a team that made it to the championship series last year. And you go out and you add Bogarts, you get Tatis back from after his suspension. And it really is crazy. They've dealt with some injuries to their pitching staff. Musgrove missed some time. Darvish is, now he's missing time. Josh Hader has blown some games. I've listened to some Padres games this year. And, from listening to, what their guys are saying on the radio, they're all saying the same thing. Like, how is this happening? So it really is a head scratcher. And, you hope, especially being a Padres fan, that, this team is able to bounce back next year. But if you're a Padres fan and you're watching this video right now, let me know what your thoughts are when it comes to the Padres. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. So with that, we are going to take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we are going to talk about the trade deadline. We're going to talk about the good trades, the bad trades, and go through all that. So stick around. We'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast.